Guys, I'm Alec, Henden, along with Cory, Hernandez, and Vaughn Jones, and welcome to the Coast2Coast College Hoop Show. Today, we're going to recap Louisville sanctions, Alonzo Trier's suspension, and its impact on Arizona, and finally, Michael Porter Jr.'s return to Missouri. Let's get right into it. All right, Cory and Vaughn. So we saw this week Louisville had to vacate their title as a result of all their big scandal during the Rick Pitino era. Their 2013 championship's gone, as well as a lot of wins from the early 2010s. What do you guys make of the NCAA's approach to handling Louisville's scandal? Well,
I'm not surprised that they went about it this way just because of the vulgar activities that Louisville was involved in with on campus. When they took away the title, it's actually the first title the NCAA has taken away in men's basketball history. So it's kind of surprising to see it finally come about. But in its entirety, it's not really surprising to see the way the NCAA went about it when handing down the probation scandal on Louisville.
Honestly, from a perspective of a college kid who's like our age, who's 18, 19, 20, if you watch Louisville make those runs in the early 2010s and you're like, yeah, they're in the tournament and they want me to go to their school, and they recruit you the way that they do, like probably one of the most appealing ways to a high school kid to be to be approached by a college. If they do that, then why wouldn't you join the team? Why wouldn't you? I feel like the fault falls entirely on the Louisville organization, and I feel like taking away the ring is more faulting the students than it is the organization.
Yeah, and I think Kevin Ware, the former Louisville player, said, hey, you can take away all the wins or whatever, but I'll still have my championship, and the Louisville fans still have the experience. It's not like the 2013 championship game didn't happen. Moving on to a more local story, Arizona's junior guard Alonzo Trier suspended for another performance-enhancing drug found in his system. Another blow to the Wildcats, who've had a lot of tough scandals this year, even though they got the win last night against Oregon State. What do you guys make of Trier's suspension?
So he took, apparently these drugs showed up a second time after showing up the first time last season, and he took these drugs as a result of a car accident without any knowledge, according to him and according to the University of Arizona, that there was no knowledge of PEDs in his system. So he didn't realize that there were PEDs in the drugs that he was taking to rehab himself from the accident, and so these are the same traces of drugs, and according to a doctor, it's 6 grains of salt in 10 Olympic swimming pools, which is not really like a medical diagnosis, but it seems like it's a pretty small amount. So it's something that I feel like he shouldn't have to sit a second time for, considering that he already sat the first time.
And my thoughts on it are the fact that I don't know how much I can trust the University of Arizona and Alonzo Trier for the fact that obviously the scandal that U of A was involved in with their assistant coach over the offseason, and the fact Alonzo Trier, like how Vaughn mentioned, was he got suspended for the same PEDs last season. So I really rely on what the NCAA is coming out when Trier tested positive for these PEDs. But in terms of a long-term standpoint, I do think this is going to have a big impact on U of A, whether they go far in the tournament, whether they make an impact in the Pac-12 tournament. So we'll just have to see how the NCAA goes about this, since U of A is appealing Trier's suspension at this moment.
Yeah, it's a lot to make at this point. I'm not sure who's telling the whole story. I think the NCAA might be a little bit of a fault here, because the reason they originally suspended him was they found the drug in the system, and they told him last year you can play after the drug was no longer in your system, and so apparently he passed the drug test and he was reinstated, but I think that might have been the NCAA's fault for reinstating him too early, and they made an overreaction, and I think that could have been their biggest issue. Now, finally, we're going to move on to the final story, a bit of a more happier story. Michael Porter Jr. has been cleared to return for basketball activities. The former highly touted recruit at Missouri. Missouri right now is a bit of a bubble team. Michael Porter Jr. is projected to be a top 10 lottery pick this year. What do you guys make of Michael Porter Jr.'s return to the court?
I do think in order to improve his draft stock, he's going to have to play at least some games, whether it be now, whether it be in the NCAA tournament. He's going to have to play at some point. High school basketball and college basketball are very different games. And the fact that NBA scouts are going to be looking at him, they're going to see, obviously he had an injury-riddled college season. Is his game from the high school going to translate all the way to the NBA is just a big question. So I do think the fact that Mizzou is a bubble team, he's going to have to, if he wants to help his team and further his college career and get NBA scouts a better look at him, he's going to have to get some reps in.
Honestly, Michael Porter Jr. went through that back surgery in November, and he was supposed to sit out 3 to 4 months, and he's coming on the very brink of 3 months, which to me, if I'm Michael Porter Jr., I do want to go out there and help my team. I want to help them make the tournament, and I want to show out so that my stock returns to the number one. He was a top prospect. It's between him and Bagley, depending on who you ask. So if I'm Michael Porter Jr., I want to go out there, but we've seen this many a time of guys returning too early and ruining their career just for the sake of playing and becoming an injury injury-prone player, and I don't want Michael Porter Jr. to have to suffer through that. You see a guy like Derrick Rose who played, even though it was the NBA level, he came back before he was fully healed, and now look at him now. His career is basically over. He doesn't even there's really not even a team that wants to play him anymore. I don't want that to happen to Porter Jr., especially at such a young age. So if I'm Michael Porter Jr., if I'm Mizzou, I want him to play, but I also want what's best for his career, and I think what's best for his career is to sit for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying there, Vaughn. I give Michael Porter Jr. a lot of credit for willingness to come back, because a lot of players, we saw Markelle Fultz last year, he took the time to sit out when he had an injury at Washington to look at his draft status. But I think Michael Porter Jr. deserves a lot of credit for trying to come back and play for Missouri, a team that is on the bubble, and will have to probably do something in the SEC tournament to make the NCAA tournament. And that'll about do it for us today. For Cory Hernandez and Vaughn Jones, my name is Alec Henden. Thank you for joining us.